Hello students, welcome to you all in Toppers PMT. So dear students, in today's session we are going to discuss one of the most important topic from coordination compound. That very important topic is crystal field theory. Dear students, before crystal field theory, I have already discussed about valence bond theory, and also I have discussed some of the problem related to that particular topic. So in today's session, we will learn about crystal field theory. So dear students, what is crystal field theory? You must have heard about it. Everyone, whoever is preparing for NEET and JEE, and you know that this is one of the most important topic from where you will get a question definitely. So let's start. Crystal field theory. Okay, let's start with the topic, that is crystal field theory. So dear students, as we studied in case of valence bond theory, that there is interaction of orbitals and there is overlapping of orbitals in case of valence bond theory, but in case of crystal field theory it violates the concept of overlapping. That is, there is no any concept of overlapping. There is interaction between the metal and the ligand, and that particular interaction is completely electrostatic in nature. What is electrostatic means? Electrostatic means if we have a positive charge and a negative charge, then there will be force of attraction between these oppositely charged particle. Similarly, in case of crystal field theory, it is assumed that the interaction between the ligand and the metal is purely electrostatic. So dear students, there comes a certain situation where we don't have molecules or ligand which are charged. There are certain ligands which are uncharged. What is in that situation? What we can call? In that case, the neutral ligand, like let us consider, for example, suppose we have ammonia, right? So ammonia, let us suppose we have ammonia, and as we know, the electronegativity of nitrogen is higher than that of the hydrogen. So the electron clouds will be more shifted towards nitrogen atom. Is it or not? So can I write here delta negative? Similarly, we know that metal has vacant d orbital. So metal will provide the vacant d orbital for accepting the electron. So we know that there is point dipole. In case of neutral ligand, in crystal field theory, they are regarded as point dipole. But in case if we have charged ligand, negatively charged ligand, in that case we will treat as a negative charge. So there is interaction between electrostatic interaction between the ligand and the metal. This is the core idea of the crystal field theory, and this is the basic difference between the valence bond theory and the crystal field theory. So dear students, in crystal field theory, we will discuss about the splitting of d orbital. That is, we know that we have five types of d orbital. So in short, I can draw the five types of d orbital. What are those five types of d orbital? You all know the five types of d orbitals are, what are they? We can say these are dxy, dyz, dxz, dx square minus y square, and dz square. These are the orbitals, five orbitals present in d. So now we'll look which of these orbital will face higher repulsion or less repulsion between the electron of the ligand and the electron of the metal. So first of all, in order to understand the crystal field splitting in octahedral complex, that is in case of coordination number 6, first of all we'll try to learn the orientation of d orbital, how they are oriented. So if we draw dxy, so what is dx? We can draw here dxy, it is x and it is y, and as we know, the shape of d orbital is a double dumbbell, and we know, in order to draw dxy, the orbital lie in between the axis of dx and dy. Here it is the shape of dxy orbital, dxy. Similarly, if we try to write dxz, so let us suppose this is x and this is z, it is dxz, dxz. Again we have one more, that is dy and z. We can take any of the axis dy z, it is dy z, right? So these ligands, sorry, these orbitals lie in between the axis, these orbital lie in between the axis of the particular axis. This orbital lie in between the axis. Now two more orbitals are there. What are they? We know that dx square minus y square. How are they? In dx square minus y square, if we look, it is x axis and it is y axis, y. So dx square minus y square orbitals are directly along the axis, and one more orbital is that the shape of dz square is something like this, it is dz square, it is dz square. So if we look at the orbital, we find that three orbital, namely dxy, dyz and dyz, these orbital lie in between the axis, but the orbital like dx square minus y square and dz square lie along the axis. So now if we look at the octahedral complex, that is, we can consider an octahedral complex as in a cube. We can consider it in the case of, let us suppose we have this octahedral complex. So in this case we can see x, y, and let us suppose this is z. So in octahedral, those ligand, the ligand which approach along the axis, ligand which approach along the axis, and those orbital which are directly along the axis will face higher repulsion. Are you getting or not? That means if we consider a ligand L which have electron, so what type of interaction will occur between the metal and the ligand? The one interaction is that force of attraction, right? Force of attraction. There will be force of attraction between the electron of the ligand and the metal. Another is also there, another type of force is also acting in between the metal and the ligand, that is force of repulsion between, force of repulsion between electron of metal and electron of ligand. These types of force exist in between the metal and the ligand, and as we know that those orbital which directly faces along the axis will face higher repulsion. So let us consider that initially, that is in absence of ligand, we have 5d orbital, we have 5d orbital, and all these d orbitals, all these d orbitals are degenerate. That means degenerate, what does degenerate means? Degenerate means of equal energy, having equal energy. So 5d orbitals are initially degenerate, that is they have similar energy. As the ligand approaches, that is once the ligand approaches the metal, then there is force of repulsion between the electron of the metal and the electron of the ligand. So the energy will increase, that is the orbital's energy, the energy of d orbital will increase. Let us suppose it is the case when the ligands are approaching, when the ligands are approaching the metal atom. Now when ligand will attach with the metal atom. This is the situation. This is what? This is case of degenerate orbital. This is the case of degenerate d orbital. And this is the case when the ligand approaches the metal. This is the case when ligand approaches the metal. Once the ligand attaches with the metal, then the d orbitals split into two sets. What are the two sets? It splits into two sets, that is T2g orbital and Eg orbital. So you can see here, and as I have told you that three orbitals, that is dxy, dyz and dxz, these lie in between the axis and the ligand approaches along the axis. So which type of orbital will face higher repulsion? So those orbital will face higher repulsion. Sorry. Those type of orbital will face higher repulsion, which those type of orbitals will face higher repulsion which directly face along the ligand. So as we know that the orbitals, which are the orbital which directly face along the ligand, they are dx square minus y square and dz square. Dx square minus y square and dz square are the orbital which directly faces along the axis. And as I have told you that ligand approach along the axis, so these two orbital will face higher repulsion, hence their energy will be higher. And those orbital, that is dxy, dyz and dxz, these lie in between the axis, therefore there will be a little repulsion and hence their energy will be less as compared to the orbital, that is dx square minus y square and dz square. In this way it is splitted into two sets, and the lower set is known as T2g orbital and higher one is known as Eg orbital, T2g and Eg. Hope you are getting it. Let us discuss this once more. T2g and Eg. It is dx square minus y square and dz square, and it is T2g and it is Eg orbital. Now this energy, the average energy is what known as the barycenter. What is this known as? Average energy is known as the barycenter. Okay, and the energy of T2g from barycenter is minus of 0.4 delta O, and that of energy gap of Eg orbital from barycenter is minus of 0.6 delta O. Okay, so here we see that it is splitted into two sets. Okay students, hope you are getting it. Now how can we know the gap, how much there will be the gap in between these two sets? The gap of these two sets, that is T2g and Eg, is known as delta O. Okay students, now we learn about how to what are the ways in which it is affected, how these are affected in if we have different types of ligands. So the energy gap, this energy gaps, that is the value of delta O, is directly proportional to the strength of ligand. Okay, value of delta O is directly proportional to the strength of ligand. Stronger the ligand, larger will be the splitting. Stronger the ligand, larger will be the splitting. The another factor on which it depends is that principal quantum number, that is second one is delta O is directly proportional to charge, charge of metal. That is, if it is positively charged, higher positive charge, then there will be larger splitting. Third, on which it depends? Third, principal quantum number. Principal quantum number. Principal quantum number. What is principal quantum? If we compare the crystal field splitting energy, suppose we have CO3 plus, RH3 plus, so which will have higher crystal field splitting? So rhodium has higher principal quantum number. That is, on moving down the group, there is higher effective nuclear charge, and hence there will be higher attractive force in between the ligand and the metal, hence there will be large gap in between the T2G and the EG orbital. So these are the certain factors on which the amount of crystal field splitting depends upon. Hope you are getting, students. Now for your syllabus, what are the most important things that your in your syllabus there will be the comparison of ligands. That means on the basis of ligand we generally classify that what is the amount of splitting. Suppose if I am asking you CO plus 3 and CO plus 2, which will have higher splitting? So obviously this will have higher splitting, that is the energy gap will be higher. And in case of higher energy gap, that is strong ligand, the electrons will prefer to filled up in the T2G orbital, and until all the T2G orbitals are completely filled, electrons will not go into the EG orbital. So this is the case of low spin complex. So here we have two type of complexes. One is low spin complex and another is high spin complex. Okay, low spin complex and high spin complex. Low spin and high spin complex. So what are low spin and high spin complex? In low spin complex, in this case, in case of low spin complex, that is the pairing energy. Here we can see, in case of low spin complex, the electrons will first filled into the T2G orbital. Let us take an example. Suppose we can take one example and we'll try to understand it. Suppose we have FeCN whole 6 and 4 negative, right? This is the case, this is an example, and you are asked whether it is high spin or low spin. How can we find? So as we know, cyanide is a strong ligand. Cyanide is a strong ligand. So the splitting will be larger. That is the energy gap between T2G and EG. T2G and EG will be higher. There will be larger energy gap between T2G and EG orbital. So electron, that is whatever the electrons present in the d orbital, let us, in this case we have Fe2 positive is this is Fe2 positive. So how many electrons? This will have a 3d6 configuration. So the electrons will first filled up into T2G orbital, that is here, this case. Hope you are getting it. Because why so? Because this gap, that is the gap between the T2G and EG orbital, is very much large, that electron cannot be able to accommodate into the higher orbital. They don't have sufficient energy to go into the higher EG orbital. So what is the electronic configuration for this? It will be T2G6 and EG0. In this way we can write the electronic configuration, whatever we have the valence electron, and we will put them into the different set, that is T2G and the EG orbital. Okay, so sometimes you will be asked which of the following will be the correct electronic configuration for this particular complex compound. So in this way you can find it. Another thing is that calculate crystal field stabilization energy. What is CFSE? It is the crystal field stabilization energy. So how can we calculate? It can be calculated as I have told you that the energy gap from the barycenter up to T2G level is minus 0.4, okay, and this is 0.6 delta O. So CFSE will be number of electron, okay, try to understand, number of electron in T2G orbital into 0.4 minus 0.4 and plus number of electron in EG orbital, into 0.6 and plus pairing. If there is pairing, if there is low spin, in case of low spin, there will be pairing energy. Okay. So this is the formula to find the crystal field stabilization energy. Suppose we take Fe plus 2 in high spin. Fe plus 2 in high spin. So how can we find the crystal field stabilization energy? Try to fill up these electron in different orbital, that is T2G and EG. As I have told you, high spin. High spin means what? Electrons will be filled one by one into all the sets of orbital, that is T2G and EG, because the energy gap is small. So electron will prefer to move into the higher state rather than to pair with itself. So we can fill them is at 1 electron, 2 electron, 3, 4, 5. How many? Fe2 plus means what? 3D, 6. So one more electron is there. So CFSE will, for this crystal field stabilization energy, for this will be CFSE will be, use this formula, number of electron, how many electrons are there in T2G orbital? Number of electrons in T2G orbital are how many? 4. So write 4 into minus 0.4, 4 into minus 0.4 plus how many electrons are there in the EG orbital? 2 electrons are there. Multiply 0.6 into 2 and the unit will be delta O. So what is the value? Minus 1.6 plus 1.2. So answer will be minus 0.4 delta O. This is the crystal field stabilization energy. Okay. Hope you got it. This is the value of the CFSE. Similarly, you can calculate the CFSE for high spin and low spin as well. If you try to calculate the crystal field stabilization in case of low spin, then similarly we can proceed and we will add P. As many pairing, that much amount of P will be added. In this case, if we try to calculate in case of low spin, so what will be? Minus 0.4 into 6 electrons will be accommodated in the lower T2G orbital. So what will be? 0.6 into 6 and pairing will also be there. How many electrons will be paired? We can see here. Just look at this. Okay. D6 low spin. What is this? D6 low spin. So 1, 2, 3. Now there will be pairing of, and pairing there will be a bit repulsion between the electron which already exists and the electron which it comes. So this and this. In this way, that is T2G 6. So what will be the CFSE? Minus 0.4 CFSE for this will be minus 0.4 into 6 and plus 3P. That is 2.4 2.4 plus 3p. Hope you are getting it. So dear students, in this way we can know about the application and the importance of crystal field theory. In today's session we learned what is crystal field theory, how does it works, what are the type of problems you may be asked. So in the questions you may be asked to calculate the crystal field stabilization energy, or to compare whether it is high spin or low spin, and so on. So this type of questions may be asked. So dear students, thank you very much. Hope you got it all the concept, and we will discuss problems related to this topic in the upcoming class. So thank you very much.